I think we're alive. What's up, guys? How are we doing? This is episode 2 of the Chidum Honestly podcast. Today's episode is basically tailored around negative memories or basically hurtful things that have been said to us, how they made us feel, how they make us feel, how they have fashioned or affected our lives in the past, in the present, or possibly even in the future. I'm going to be doing it solo today, but I'm going to talk a bit about my past and something that was said to me that stayed with me. It wasn't even that crazy, to be very honest, but I don't know why it stayed with me. It still stays with me. I still remember it. Let me not say stays with me, but I still remember it. But before I even, touch on that, I think I want to talk a bit about secondary school. This happened in secondary school, by the way. So my first year in secondary school was actually quite interesting. I'll talk about this teacher. I don't know why. I never forget him. Mr. Olagunju was his name. He taught mathematics. And I think he was quite an expressive man. He would always go, huh, huh, nonsense. So anyway, he taught us a new formula. There was a way of solving something I really can't remember, and it was kind of tricky. It was actually very tricky, and everyone was missing it. So he wrote down the question on the board and asked everyone to try, and people were failing. And I was reading the zone. I was in the zone, and then I got it, and then I raised my hand, and I'm looking at him like intently, and he looks at me. He goes, "Huh, silence, huh. Chidum knows it. The boy knows it. Huh. What's the answer? What's the answer?" And then I rattled off my answer. I don't know whether it was theta times time or something. And the guy's eyes just dull. And he goes, huh, no, nonsense. Nah, you guys might not find it funny, but trust me, anyone who went to my secondary school would, would totally know what I'm saying. But anywho, that's not about that. So about today's topic, there was this girl in my set, JSS1. It started from JSS1. Well, it started and ended in JSS1. Yeah, JSS. I don't know how or why or where it started, but we were always arguing, always arguing. And it wasn't even the arguments that, people say, oh, maybe they have crushes on each other. No, we were just arch enemies. I don't know how or why. I really don't know, but I just felt she was always on my case. She was always trying to get up my ass. Forgive my French. YouTube don't ban me. Anywho, I remember once we were in class here. I mean, we had our back and forths. We had really had a back and forths. I think I had this pack of sticky notes where I kind of took digs at everyone in the class, and I, of course, looked through it with my friends, and we all laughed. And then the girl, I don't know how, but she spotted it. She spotted it, man, and then she reports to the teacher. So I don't know what happened. So this girl literally took me out of the class. I don't remember how. She sent me. She basically said the teacher was looking for me. So I walked all the way to the staff room. While I was doing that, she was rummaging through my locker, legit rummaging through my locker to get the sticky notes. And she gets the sticky notes and takes it to my class teacher. Class teacher sees it and cannot believe it. I think they told my dad. I think my teacher gave it to my dad on open day or so. I really don't remember. It was just a long time ago, and I felt really bad. I felt not betrayed because I mean she was my arch enemy, but come on, who would go so low? Come on, jeez, GSS1 niggas were joking. Anywho, that was first term. Second term, we were in class, and our teacher was talking about some animals, and we're talking about bisons. And I mean, when I was younger, I was a nature boy. I'm still a nature boy, but I was a Discovery Channel freak when I was younger. I knew not every species or animal, but my God, I knew a bunch. And I mean, I knew what a bison was, of course. So I raised my hand up. Teacher goes, "You guys, does anyone know what a bison is?" And then I raised my hand up, and I'm rocking my chair, like I'm rocking on the back, the rear legs of the seat. And while I raise my hand, teacher is about to call me, and then this girl just goes, "Excuse me, does it look like Chidum?" And everyone starts laughing. Like, when you're younger, like the most ridiculous things are so funny, especially when it's said from a popular person. Everyone starts laughing. And in my mind, I'm like, what, I, how? How is this funny? And then I have this really cold stare. I'm looking at the teacher. So this girl is behind me. I'm sitting ahead of her, like two seats or two rows ahead of her, looking at the teacher straight because I wanted to answer the question. My stare is so cold and I'm staring at the teacher. I don't even look back. I just say, no, it looks like your father. Silence. Even the teacher was lost for words. She was staring at me like, what on earth did you just say? I don't know how I said that or why I said that, but my God, it was delivered cold. And then the teacher just says, both of you go and report yourselves to the head of the junior secondary school. Because as at then, the annex was at the other end of the estate, and the main campus was at the other end of the estate. And so we start walking towards the head of the junior school's office. And in my mind, I'm like, Chidum, you are dead. Like, you are dead. And as we're walking towards the head of junior secondary school's office, the alarm bell suddenly rang out. At school, when the alarm bell goes off, especially at, was it 4 p.m.? I think we closed school at 4. Or was it 5? I think 4. I don't remember. This was secondary school. Everyone bolts out unless there's a teacher in the class. Once that siren goes off, it's a mad. Okay, it was a bell. It wasn't siren at that time. It was a bell. Once the bell goes off, so we were literally walking towards the office and we're halfway. The bell went off. I literally turned back around and walked back to the class. By the time I think we got to the class, teacher was already leaving. So that matter in quotes in Nigerian language, that matter died. Now I thought that was the end of it. I thought everything had moved on. The next day, the moment I walked into the class, I see her staring straight at me, and everyone is in class. And she looks at me and she says, "Chidum, you will never ever pass me in an exam because I'm smarter than you." Guys, I remember it like it was yesterday. I wasn't pained or hurt, or was I? I don't know how I felt, and I'll tell you why. Because that babe was intelligent, man. There was a part of me that kept wondering, like, damn, am I going to like study harder just to pass? Am I going to? I really started asking myself questions. And then finally, I think at the end of the day, I just didn't bother myself. And I pat myself on the back for that because I didn't really care, I didn't really care. I just, I don't know why, but it stayed with me. I was hurt. In fact, I was hurt. I felt it was demeaning. Yeah, I didn't like it at all. So, ironically, you know, oh no, I won't go to that. Now, she finally got her revenge, though. Third term. One day, our principal just walked in, Mrs. Phillips, I think. I think her name was Mrs. Phillips as at then. She walked into the annex, the junior school, and she goes that they're here to weed out all the negative and bad students from the school. What's going on? And we only had the JSS ones and twos at the annex. And so we all line up like it's an assembly. We all line up. We all line up like it's an assembly. All the classes, just one, red, green, blue, whatever, just the same as that. Now, Mrs. Phillips now starts announcing that they want to expel bad students, students who are morally corrupt, that kind of thing. And they start calling out names. They just start calling out names. What's going on? And then from nowhere, I see this girl walk out of the line, walk up to my class teacher, and whisper something to her. You will not believe that my class teacher called me out and says, "Yes, Chidu Mekenta, come out." And then I joined the other criminals standing on the block. In my mind, I'm like, what's going on? And then my teacher announces that they brought me on because I curse when I sing. And in my mind, I'm like, curse when I sing, curse when I. Tupac. I was a Tupac. I still am a Tupac fan. And I used to rap Tupac and Eminem. And I mean, they had curse words in their songs, and I was in junior secondary school. But in my mind, I'm like, is that why you are going to expel me? I didn't curse at anyone. I was just singing a goddamn song, bruv. And it was that girl who walked out to the line to go to the teacher to tell her that I cursed in my songs. In my mind, I'm like, is this teacher crazy or drunk or insane? Anywho, it was a bluff. I think they just wanted to get people scared, or maybe something happened and they just wanted to try to check things. And so another teacher, an able teacher, Mr. Wigwe, I never forget him. He's late now. He goes, he announces that, if you guys want any of these gentlemen, because we're all guys, there was no girl, or was there any lady? I don't remember. And he asks, he's like, if you guys want any of them to stay back and not be expelled, please raise your hands. And then people in their different sets or different classes were raising their hands for their people. And then I noticed that one of my very good friends, as at then, and I would say his name, Mayowa Ogunda Notade, he was weeping. This guy was weeping. This was when Jesus won. Mayowa was crying and he raised his hand that he shouldn't expel Chidum. Mayowa Ogunda Notade. Wherever you are, shout out to you, bro. This was in GSS 1. I didn't even remember that he cried for me until today. And so the principal then says, all of you, you're forgiven. Don't do this again. You can go back to your classrooms. And we all go back to our classrooms. And I'm looking at this girl like, if I were Tupac, oh, I can't say it here, but I'll do what Tupac would have done, whatever that was. It probably had to do with a Glock. Anyway, so ironically, time came, day came, night came, a few months and a few years went by too. But we're still in school. And I mean, everything was forgotten. I forgot. And would you believe we became very good friends? We became very good friends. We became really close. We're cool. We're really cool, up until senior secondary. Do I think she remembered that she said that? I really can't say, honestly. But this is the next phase of my story. Oh, by the way, I never passed her. SS 1, 2, 3, SS 1, 2, 3. I never passed her in any exams. I'm literally just remembering. But then during WAEC, she failed her WAEC. I want to not say failed. She didn't do great at all in her WAEC. And my results were much better. And would you believe it was that day I remembered what she said in GSS 1? I promise you, I didn't think about that from GSS 2, 3, SS 1, 2, 3. It was after we got our WAEC results. I looked at my results and I saw her crying. I literally saw her crying because we all had to come to school to get our results. And I saw her crying. And then I remembered what she said in GSS 1. Why did I remember? I don't know. But I remembered. It came back to me. And I wasn't sad. I wasn't happy either. But I just remembered and I looked at her from the distance and I was like, wow, you said this to me in GSS 1. She was a kid too. Let's not get it twisted. She was a kid and didn't know any better. But still, we make excuses for too many things. That's not something anyone should have said. Primary 5 or GSS 1 or SS3 or adulthood. You shouldn't say those kind of things. So, anywho, I mean, of course, I didn't gloat or anything because she was my friend. And, life moved on and that's all. Now, why did I decide to talk about this podcast? It was because I was at an event recently and, I came up with a jar of truth where people had to write truths that they came across. And I wrote that story of the girl. I actually wrote it because I still remembered it. And then these two ladies come to write theirs to put in that jar. And, I'm trying to encourage them to write, and they're like, ah, ha, ha. And I encourage them, like, hey, I wrote something too. And they asked what it was. And I promised I would tell them if they wrote theirs. And they wrote theirs and they asked what I wrote. So I told them the story. And they were quiet and they were a bit concerned. And one of them asked, are you still in touch with her? And I'm like, no, I mean, I haven't spoken to her for nearly 15 years. We lost touch. And I mean, it was nothing evil or negative. And then she went on to ask the lady, she goes, if you see her, what would you tell her about it? I never thought of that. And my answer was honestly nothing. Nothing really. I don't think it's affected my life. Or did it? Nah. Or did it? I don't think so. I really don't know, but I don't think so. However, however, the only reason I'm doing this podcast today is to ask a question. And I don't know if the question is to myself or to you. My question is, why do I still remember over 20 years later? Why? Is it because I'm a storyteller? Is it because it's my job to create stuff? But this is a true story. Why do I still remember? I don't know. But that's that about this. I just wanted to also ask, if you're listening to this, is there anyone who has ever said anything hurtful to you that stayed with you? Is there anyone or anything that has happened to you that has marked you or scarred you and is preventing you from moving on? Is it something you want to share in the comments or anonymously? You can share, you can tell us. You can ask your questions even. If you want to ask more questions about my past, you can actually ask. And, I'll do my best to share. So as usual, please like, share with your enemies, share with your frenemies, share with your friends. Let's get this podcast flying. Thank you very much and cheers for staying on Chidum Honestly. Bye guys.